My guests are His Eminence Sayed Mehdi Modaressi, Mulla Ali Fadhil, and the poet Nouri Sardar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for joining me. This night, the 7th night of Muharram, we usually tend to remember Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam. And as I mentioned, where do you start with Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, what an honor it is to be amongst fellow servants of Imam Hussain and Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas on such a special night. We all know that the 7th of Muharram in many cultures and the 8th of Muharram in some other cultures holds a special place in the hearts of hundreds of millions of Shias around the world and even non-Shias. Muslims from every denomination, even non-Muslims, because this night is attributed to a man whose physique was limited, but his name and his legend is truly eternal. And that is Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, Abu al-Fadl, the father of virtues. He truly did personify all the virtues, all the ethics and great morals, and that allowed him to be literally the father of all virtues, because they were all put into practice on the day of Ashura. As you very accurately described Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he's a person with whom you are bewildered as to where you start. And if we were to start not at his birth or the major highlights of his life or the great masterpiece that he put on display on the day of Ashura in the year 61 on the Hijri calendar, but to start 14 centuries later, we would find a man who is meta-physical and meta-historical in every sense of the word. You go to Karbala, and usually the first thing that greets you as you enter the holy city of Karbala are the beautiful golden minarets now and the golden dome of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. And you see those minarets standing as though somehow it reminds you of Abbas sitting on the back of his horse, his head almost touching the clouds, holding the standard of Imam Hussain. Those minarets somehow remind you of that standard, that flag, with after which he's named. Imam Hussain said that to him on the day of Ashura. He said to him, "Akhi, anta hamilu liwa'i." You are the holder of my flag. You are the one who raises my standard. You're the one who represents my camp. My whole army depends on you. And so, 14 centuries later, and Abbas continues to inspire and continues to answer people's calls. I mean, it makes no sense for 15 million people to go to Karbala on the Arba'een, who are, by the way, just a small sample of the number of people who perform the visitation, the ziyarah. They talk about 150 million people who go to Karbala on an annual basis. And they all go, and the first thing most of them do, I think it's somewhat of a tradition now, that before you visit Imam al-Hussain, you go through the gatekeeper. You go through the standard bearer. You go through Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas out of respect for this great man. And so, forget his life. Look at the legend after his death, and you get a glimpse of who Abbas was.
Ya Bab al-Hawaij, Nouri, you have a poet for us.
This poem is going to look at Abbas's, I would say, the pinnacle moment of his life. It was the time when he raised the water in his hands and decided to throw it away when he remembered Imam Hussain and his children and their thirst. Abbas, 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 Abbas. His hand, when grasped in it water, his hand, when grasped in it water, would teach desire in times later. No, I Abbas will not falter. No, I Abbas will not falter, for my tongue recites a name greater. This tongue, it burns, and rays of light pierce this courage, leaves it in fright. This tongue, it burns, and rays of light pierce this courage, leaves it in fright. But soul, Abbas would say, but oh soul, on you looks choicest sight. You are Abbas and you wield might. You are Abbas and you wield might. So control yourself, O self that once you fight desire on battle's fronts. With each good deed your ego taunts. With each good deed your ego taunts. Does your self precede thirst that taunts? Does your thirst precede thirst that taunts? Does your self precede thirst that taunts? Your aid belongs to one alone. Your aid belongs to one alone. He stands Hussain without a throne. Would all your pride your thirst dethrone? Would all your pride your thirst dethrone? Would you falter and then atone? Your eyes they gaze at water sweet. Your eyes they gaze at water sweet. Would you drink and Abbas defeat? Would you drink and Abbas defeat? No self, be damned from this deceit. No self, be damned from this deceit. You are Abbas and hardships you greet. You are Abbas and hardships you greet. O soul, before you is Hussain, not after him should you remain. Can you quench thirst that wants him slain? It's not the faith that you maintain. You ride and breeze pierces your skin. You ride and breeze pierces your skin, brushes your hair, your blood from within. You ride and breeze pierces your skin, brushes your hair, blood from within. Your canteen flows, it's water thin. Your canteen flows, it's water thin. To your eye flies an arrow's grin. The drums of death raised is their sound. The drums of death raised is their sound. A wounded lion they surround. O death, I am Abbas. O death, I am Abbas, and I pound my severed arms upon the ground. As in death's embrace I wandered. As in death's embrace I wandered. Sweetest water I was offered. As in death's embrace I wandered, sweetest water I was offered. I threw its glass as if dishonored when Hussain to death's clutch is tethered. This clutch on him hurts my glory. This clutch of thirst on him hurts my glory. What will they say of my story? What will they say of my story? I break the walls of purgatory. Lord, take me back. Hussain is thirsty. Lord, take me back. Hussain is thirsty. Enchained, I watch the devil's maid. Enchained, I watch the devil's maid perch my master, armed with a blade. Enchained, I watch the devil's maid perch my master, armed with a blade. His children flock to hurt, evade. His children flock to hurt, evade. And in torture they cry, Abbas. And in torture they cry, oh Abbas.
This poem is again by Nouri Sardar. Is it the river that calls you, O Abbas? Is it the river that calls you, the river? Or the tears of all these children, oh brother? Where would they flow if but they know of your sorrow? Where would they flow if but they know of your sorrow? Every child upon this day, water they seek. They cannot cry as their own thirst has made them weak. How do you feel when you see this to me speak? I see your worry in the tears, brother, you weep. Brother, you watch over me even when I sleep. I know that toward the river you want to leave. I know every cry breaks your heart, a pure heart. Every tear that you're too I see tears you apart. Every cry out for water is like an arrow. Every cry out for water is like an arrow. You hold a child in your eyes dying from thirst. You hold a child in your arms dying from thirst. Between their tears and your broken heart, which is worse. And every cry only by your hand can be nursed. As in your love every young heart has been immersed. The river calls you, O Quran, chapter and verse. I know for water with it you wish to converse. A river to which you cry out, a river. Far be it that they will deny you water, and with every cry or anger it only grows. And with every cry or anger it only grows. I know what happened, oh brother, when we were young. Our father told you of your fate, what would become. Now your eyes see every dry and waterless tongue. Your eyes see our brother Hussain left all alone. I know you wish this oppression to be undone, and I know your heart wishes to end every wrong. One wrong lies with the children, thirsty one wrong. The other lies with our brother all alone. What can become, what must be done, only you know. What can become, what must be done, only you know. You go toward Hussain who stands all by himself. Never so alone has Hussain our brother felt. You say, oh brother, from them our blood is their wealth. He says, you are all I have, I fear your health. You say, oh master, I request, by you I've knelt. I cannot breathe if with their thirst I haven't dealt. Let me go and retrieve water, let me go. How can I not when they wail beside me? He answers, Abbas, will you return if you go? He answers, Abbas, will you return if you go? Oh, amongst the cries you come to me with your courage. You tell me, oh sister, oh light of all my age. The river calls me and with them I must engage. Of the book of my life this may be the last page. I leave with these children's cries with me enrage. So say farewell to me as a battle I wage. A farewell, oh light of my eyes, a farewell. Much like our fathers went to the sword, he fell. The tears you weep to your beloved brother show. The tears you weep to your beloved brother show. You ride out and in your hand the sword of Haidar, and your flag destiny circles a flag bearer. You ride out and in your hand the sword of Haidar, and your flag destiny circles a flag bearer. Will you return or will you fall? We all wonder. Through the enemy way, then reach the river. With your hands you bring to your mouth the sweet water, until you remember Hussain and his daughters. How can I drink when my brother is thirsty? And from your hands the water you throw away. You return to us but attacks you every foe. You return to us but attacks you every foe.
طيب الله الفاتحة.
أحسنتم أجور بارك الله
Sayyidina, inshallah, before we go for a short break, and inshallah after the break we will say the masa'ib of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. But just leading up to the masa'ib, Imam Hussain knew that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, as he says, is his whole army. That if Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas was something to happen to him, Imam Hussain, that's why he says, Al-an inkasara dhahri. So Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas did not really ask permission to go out and fight. He asked permission to get water. So or did he actually ask to go out and fight? Or is there a difference?
Of course. Let's put it this way. As great as Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas was, to the same degree his enemies were brutal and vicious and heartless in every way imaginable. And as testimony to that, as testimony to just how brutal these people were, people blame us and say, why would you curse? We curse Yazid and we curse his father who appointed him, Muawiyah, and we curse the one who appointed him, and so on and so forth. Because we look at Yazid and his actions, and we see a vile criminal who attacked a man who wasn't there to fight, but to fetch water for a bunch of little girls who were for the most part orphaned. Others were not orphaned, but they were dying out of thirst. They couldn't see a man fetch water for his brother's thirst-stricken children. How evil does one have to be to wage war against this man? In the words of one of my friends just today, he was saying that Abbas wasn't there to wage war. He went out to fetch water and there was a battle. Because Abbas's presence is threatening to them. Abbas being able to quench his thirst is a death sentence to them. Abbas taking water back to the camp is suicide for these individuals who realize that if Abbas regains his strength, that if God forbid Abbas was able to revive the camp of Imam Hussain, they would not stand a chance at life. And so he comes to Imam Hussain after seeing his four brothers die one after the other, after seeing his friends, his companions, his siblings all falling to the ground, being butchered, kal-adahi, as the historians put it. Imagine if you go to Mina, and those who have gone to Hajj can probably relate to what I have to say, where you go to the location where they slaughter these sheep, the sacrificial animals, as part of the Hajj rituals, and you see literally a desert full of blood and flesh. Abbas, having seen all of this, having endured those painful hours of the day of Ashura, comes to his brother with full submission to the command of Imam Hussain, with servitude, with a sense of, tell me what I need to do. And so he says to the Imam that I wish for you to give me permission to go and fight, for these people have filled my heart with pain and agony, and I can no longer stand to see this. And the Imam, he does not wish to see his brother get killed, and so he says to him, if you're going to go, then at least fetch some water and do not fight.
Thank you, Sayyid. Inshallah, join us after the break, where we will continue the masa'ib of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam. Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back to Tears from the Pulpit. Today we are talking about Qamar Bani Hashim, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas Ruhi lahu al-Fida. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, who gave everything to his master Abi Abdullah al-Hussein, even till his last moments. He did not call him brother, he called him master. And it was a wish for Abi Abdullah al-Hussein to hear from Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, Akhi, my brother. Sayyidina, I hear you have a latmiya about Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas.
Well, it's not exactly a latmiya, it's a very short poem that describes the, if you like, the aftermath. But before I say, I read portions of this, let's talk about the beginnings a little bit, very briefly. So Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is a unique character in every sense of the word, to the point that traditions tell us that on the day of judgment, Imam Zayn al-Abidin says that my uncle will have a position in paradise that will be the object of envy by all the martyrs
in Karbala
and elsewhere. Imagine the state of a martyr. The position of a martyr is one that is beyond description. And traditions, for instance, tell us that when the first drop of blood of a martyr falls to the ground, it falls into the hands of God Himself. Their position in paradise is something that we can't even begin to describe or comprehend. And yet for them to look up to the position of Abbas, it means we're talking about an exceptional character, one who is beyond the scope of time and space, let alone this brief discussion. His mother gave birth to him so that he would be killed. And that's unique. He was brought into this world because he was going to act as the savior of his brother, as the savior of this religion, by allowing his blood to be shed. He gave everything that he had, as you correctly mentioned. And a friend of mine also put it this way, which I thought was very beautiful. He said, a little girl says to him, "Uncle, I'm thirsty." And he is such an exceptional character, such a great personality, that in response to the call of a thirsty little girl, he is prepared to allow his eyes to be gouged out. أو تشتكي العطش الفواطم عنده, the poet says, وبصدر صعدته الفرات المفعم. How could Abbas stand to hear little children call out, العطش العطش, oh the thirst, and not give everything he has in order to quench that thirst? One night, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas goes missing. It's the night of all nights. It's the night of Ashura. So historians say that as the companions were all gathered in one camp, in one tent, praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, performing acts of worship, buzzing like bees in a beehive, as the historians say. You had the household of Imam Hussain in another camp, and they were all engaged in their own acts of worship. But Abbas is nowhere to be seen. And of course, he's out there guarding the camp all by himself. Zainab starts to look for her brother in order to give him some words of support, some moral support. Because she knows tomorrow's tests are going to be extremely difficult, to say the least. And so as Abbas is guarding the camp, suddenly he spots a shadowy figure approaching in the darkness. He thinks it's an agent of the enemy, but he soon realizes that it's own blood and flesh. It's Zainab, the one entrusted to him at the bedside of his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen, when Imam Ali alayhi salam left instructions for each and every one of his children, but then he took the little tiny hands of Zainab and he put them in Abbas's hand and said, "This is your sister, take care of her, protect her." And of course Abbas gave his oath, his pledge, his commitment to do so until his last breath. Zainab, this beloved sister of Abbas, approaches in the darkness. She says to him, "Akha ya Abbas, oh brother, I have something to talk to you about." So he says in response, "Wama ahla hadha al-waqt." Is there a better time for me and you to get together and speak? She says to him, "Abbas, I have a story to tell you." She holds the horse. He wants to get down. She says to him, "No, I would love for me to see you sitting on the back of your horse." I don't know why she would say that, but maybe it was because it was too much for Zainab to see Abbas fall. She says to him, "Let me tell you a story. One day, our father asks his brother Aqil to go and find him a suitable wife. He finds an individual who was known for his courage, his bravery. The clan, the tribe was one that was known for their impeccable warrior skills. So this man receives the messenger of Ali ibn Abi Talib, Aqil, asking his daughter's hand in marriage. Allahu Akbar, what a great honor. He says, "Of course, but let me," listen, this is the father of al-Baneen. He says to Aqil, he says, "I would be honored to become related to you. However, my wife knows my daughter better than I do. So let me go and ask her if my daughter Fatima is worthy of getting married to Ali ibn Abi Talib." So he goes out into the other room. Historians say that as he's about to enter the room, he's probably thinking, how should he break the news? How should he ask them? When he notices that Fatima is sitting down, his wife, her mother, is brushing her hair. So he overhears the conversation. Allahu Akbar. Fatima, this young girl, is telling her mother, "Mother, last night while I was asleep, I saw myself in a dream. I was sitting in a field." SubhanAllah, it's almost like a chapter from a fairy tale, but it's true. She says that I saw myself sitting down, and as I was sitting down, suddenly I saw 4 stars fall from the sky into my lap. I was filled with joy, but then my joy was multiplied when I saw the moon itself approach from the heavens and rest in my lap. What does that mean, mother? Her mother said to her, "Khayran insha'Allah." Hopefully that's a good dream. There could only be a good interpretation for it. Suddenly the father, he barges in, comes in and says, "Oh, my daughter Fatima, I have the interpretation of that dream. You will beget 5 beautiful children who resemble the stars and the moon, because today I have received the messenger of Ali ibn Abi Talib asking for your hand in marriage." This is Fatimatul Kilabiyah, who marries Amir al-Mu'mineen in order to receive the moon in her lap and then offer the moon as sacrifice as the moon is shattered for the sake of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain. The letter is very brief. It speaks about the aftermath, as I said, where Abbas's niece, the daughter of Imam Hussain, is speaking to her aunt Zainab. Speaking to Abbas. Abbas, where were you when they attacked me? Abbas, where were you when they attacked me? Abbas, I'm waiting. Your place I can see. When you departed, you did promise me. I will hurry back, you said lovingly. My father is gone, so is the baby. Asghar, then Qasim, then Ali, they all have left me. Abbas, my uncle, please answer my plea. Abbas, is that you? Zainab, look away. Zainab cannot see. Abbas, I see you butchered by the sea. There is his right hand. Is that his helmet? Who has split the moon? Who pierced the sun's eye? Where is Hussein's flag? Tell me, I can see. Come to my rescue. Come back, set us free. Ya Abbas.
Inshallah, we are granted the ziyarat of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. I think you have a poet about the ziyarat of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas.
Leading back to what Sayed Mehdi Modaressi said in the beginning about Abbas alayhi salam being transient of time and space and the symbol that he is today. I want you all, if you've been to Ziyarat al-Abbas, to put yourself back in that place where you can see Imam Hussein's dome and Abu Fadl Abbas's dome beneath his sky and his minarets. Is that the scent of Abbas I feel brushing against my face? Is that the scent of Abbas I feel brushing against my face? The sweetest of air that doubles as medicine as you inhale it and it pours love of Abbas into your heart? Or is it the gentle wind that brushes through my hair, his gentle touch that wipes from my eyes, my tears, wind perfumed for being doused in his beauty? Just one of dozens that flow toward him, each like me with their own sad story to tell, each who may have written volumes of poetry, others worse, whom on them has sat and stayed on their shoulders tragedy, yet there he kneels, Abbas, yet there he kneels, poised on top of his grave, on looking with cautious eyes, each heartbroken visitor, noting down each name that falls in love with him, noting down each desire that is beseeched to him, heeding each tragedy that is narrated to him, and all as narrated via the tongue of a helpless soul. And he raises his handless arms toward the sky. And he raises his handless arms toward the sky, being the embodiment of selflessness, reflecting each wish to the Creator who does not ignore before he turns his head swiftly to his side and says, "Oh my Master Hussein, is there anything else I can serve you with?" Still imprinted on my eye and thus my memory. Still imprinted on my eye and thus my memory, the dome that I left draped in that sun's heat. Or when it was dressed in a starry night sky, and by it I would sit and gaze and weep. And all I can say with each moment I remember is that I'm sorry. Abbas, I'm sorry for continuously breaking your trust in me. I'm sorry for continuously breaking your trust in me. I'm sorry for coming back to you each time I drown in sins. I'm sorry for expecting your intercession to save me. I'm sorry for leaving home and returning to a stranger land. I'm sorry for leaving home and returning to a stranger land. I'm sorry for living as if I never met you. I'm sorry for continuously drawing my wails upon your sand before I simply return and choose life over you. Every time I think of you, I remember those two draped curtains that slightly concealed your tomb, and that I left it with tears in my eyes. I remember that long walk. I remember that long walk where I stood in neither life nor death, but in between fate and life, when words will not do justice to the state of my heart. Neither would the tears that drip down my cheeks, neither would the poetry that I write beyond it. I remember he who shaped my moral. I remember he who shaped my moral, albeit with severed hands, but still, no one had a touch like you. No one had a touch like you, casting in me a spell of spirituality, threading through me courage, anger, fortitude, but a heart still pure enough to cry at your name. I remember your dome encompassing both your honor and beauty. I remember your dome encompassing both your honor and beauty, glistening against the unimportant beyond that sat above it. Your minarets, not a king's crown, but a soldier's shield and bow and arrow. I remember your presence that I would gaze at and cry. I remember your presence that I would gaze at and cry. And what would make me weep more? What would make me weep more? With each tear I shed, I saw you smile. With each tear I shed, I saw you smile, watching, loving. And what a smile you have, knowing me, Abbas, my friend, my truest friend, and no one else can ever know me except for you.
Sayyidina, going back to the Masa'ib of Al-Fadl Abbas. So, Abi Abdullah al-Hussein gave permission to Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas to go and get water. In the meantime, Sukaina had the kids around her and she was telling them, "Uncle's coming back. Anytime now you're going to get water." But well, Abbas didn't return with the water, as we know. What was Abbas's journey from when he left Hussein till he got to the water?
As we said earlier, when Zainab came to Abbas, telling him the story of how their parents, his parents, were married, as he was sitting on the back of the horse, she was standing on the ground. He said to her, "Why are you telling me this story?" She said to him, "Abbas, tomorrow's test is going to be difficult. I wish to make sure that you remain steadfast on your path."
Allah.
Historians say Abbas suddenly pushed his feet against the horse's stirrup, حَتَّى مَزَّقَهُ. He tore it up, and then he said to her, "O sister, أَوَإِيَّايَ تُشَجِّعِينَ وَأَنَا ابْنُ عَلِيِّ بْنَ أَبِي طَالِبٍ." You're trying to give me courage. Have you forgotten that I am the son of Ali? I will never forget the purpose for which I was created. Tomorrow is when I put on display my greatest masterpiece, the very purpose of my life. وَاللَّهِ لَأَنْ أُمَنَّكِ عَيْنَا. By God, I will illuminate your eyes. and illuminate her eyes. He did on the day of Ashura. He approached his brother in the tent. Sayyidi wa Mawlaya ya Aba Abdullah. Always being taught by his mother to address his own brother Abu Abdullah al-Hussein as my master and my lord, with respect. Ya Aba Abdullah, halli min rukhsatin lil qital. Give me permission to go fight. فقد ضاق قلبي من هؤلاء القوم. I wish to seek my revenge from these hypocrites. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein lowers his head. فبكى بأبيه وأمي. He began crying. Then he raised his head. He said to his beloved brother Abbas, أخي أبا الفضل أنت حامل لوائي أنت كبش كتيبتي. You are my standard bearer, O Abbas. If you go, my entire camp will collapse. I will no longer have an army to fight with. I'll be left all alone, Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas. ولكن إن كان ولا بد فاطلب لهؤلاء الأطفال شربة من الماء. But if you must go, then go to fetch water for these children who are crawling. Al-Atash, Al-Atash. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas gets up. He goes out to face the enemy, but not to fight with them. He warns them of the wrath of God. He reminds them of Imam al-Husain's status and position. He reminds them of who it is that they have unsheathed their swords to kill. But they do not listen to him. They do not take heed from him or from his warnings. He gets on the back of his horse. He approaches the Euphrates, where there were 4,000 troops stationed. فَكَشَفَهُمْ عَنِ الْفُرَاتِ. This is the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Some historians say that as he went towards the battlefield, he would mention his brother's name, Hussein, by calling, Assalamu alayka ya ibn Fatimah. Peace be upon you, O the son of Fatima, glorifying Imam Hussein's mother's name in that way. Imam al-Hussein would also send him another message just to make sure he was still alive by saying alayka salam ya ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. Each one giving each other moral support. Abbas approaches the Euphrates. He pushes them all aside. His horse jumps into the river. Abbas reaches down. He performs a legendary act that is still an example 14 centuries later and until the day of judgment. He reaches down to the water. He fills his hands. He brings his hands up towards his lips. The enemy is watching. The troops are observing. If he drinks a single drop of that water, that will be the end of all of us. Suddenly they notice Abbas pausing for a moment. فَرَمَى الْمَاءَ عَلَى الْمَاءِ. He threw the water back into the river. He headed back out. One of them says, I overheard him saying, Ya nafs min ba'd al-Husayn huni wa ba'dahu ma kunti aw takuni hadha Husaynun waridul manuni wa tashrabina barda al-ma'ini هيهات هيهات ما هذا فعال ديني. Damn you, O self, you enjoy the cold water while your brother Hussein is thirsty. Damn you, O O self, if you ever drink a single drop, for this is not the morals of my religion. He heads back towards the camp, having filled his water skin, his canteen with water, to take back to the children and fulfill his mission. On the way back, he fights the enemy, but then he has two of the enemy troops who station themselves behind the trees. They raise their swords, they sever Abbas's right hand. Abbas's right hand falls to the ground, but he continues his mission. He can still use his left hand to fend for himself. He can use his teeth, his mouth, to hold the water skin. He continues, but they attack him once again, this time severing his left hand. Abbas perseveres. He moves towards the camp. He still has the water. Sukaina, some historians say, was standing on high ground, observing the battlefield, watching the flag move from side to side, until she saw the flag fall to the ground. She said, Amma Zainab, I don't know what happened, but the flag is on the ground, and I cannot see my uncle Abbas, for he is surrounded by the enemy. And then they begin to shower him with arrows. فجاءته السهام كالمطر يا حجة ابن الحسن يا إمام الزمان. I am going to say a description for your uncle's martyrdom that many people have not heard. يا حجة ابن الحسن, forgive me. They shower him with arrows. فسهم أصاب صدره. One arrow rested his chest. وسهم أصاب عينه. Another one pierces through his eye. وسهم أصاب القربة. The third one pierces through the skin. فسال الماء. Water began to shed from it. Historians state فوقف العباس متحيرا. الله أكبر. Do you know what this means? فوقف العباس متحيرا. Abbas stood there in the middle of the battlefield. He stopped. He would no longer move forward. متحيرا means he was bewildered. He was almost confused. Why would Abbas be confused, oh believers? Because Abbas had no hand to fight with. Allahu Akbar. Abbas had no eye to see with. Abbas, most importantly, had no water skin to take back to the camp. فوقف العباس متحيرا. يا حجة ابن الحسن, please forgive me. Here's the question. We know that they hit his head with an iron pole, but my question to you is that Abbas was wearing a helmet on the day of Ashura. He was a warrior. How could they break his skull while he was wearing a helmet? Do you know how? Because Abbas had an arrow in his eye. He couldn't use his hands to pull out the arrow. So he begins to shake his head left and right, and the helmet falls from his head. فجاءه اللعين وضربه على رأسه بعمود من حديد. عمد الحديد بكربلاء شق القمر من هاشم فلتبكيه عليا مضر. I don't know if I should say this or not, but it is said فسال دماغه من رأسه. وعباس وسيدا وعباس. فجاءه الحسين كالصقر المنقض على فريسته. If we don't say this tonight, when will we say it? Aba Abdullah al-Hussein suddenly overhears his brother calling out with a loud voice, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, Akhi adrik akhak. For the first time, Hussein hears his younger brother Abbas call him, oh brother, come to your brother's rescue. فجاءهم فكانوا يفرون منه. They would run away, they would flee from him the way a herd of sheep flees from an angry lion. Imam al-Hussein would scream out, إلى أين تفرون وقد قتلتم أخي, إلى أين تفرون وقد كسرتم ظهري. Aba Abdullah reaches the area where Abu al-Fadl had fallen, but before seeing his brother, he sees his right hand, then he sees his left hand, then he sees the water skin, then he sees the helmet, then he comes to his brother's side. وَالسَّهْمُ نَابِتٌ فِي عَيْنِهِ. There's an arrow that is resting in his eyes. Everyone heard Abu Abdullah cry out for the first time, الآن انكسر ظهري وقلت حيلتي وشمت بي عدوي أخي أبا الفضل. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
أحسنت سيدنا.
أحسن الله عليكم.
Inshallah, we are granted the ziyarat of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and his beloved brother Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. And inshallah, these tears are counted for us in the day of judgment when Bibi Fatima comes out with the arms of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and says, what have these arms done to deserve this? We ask you to join us inshallah tomorrow for another episode of Tears from the Pulpit. Ya Rabb al-Hussein, بحق الحسين اشفي صدر الحسين بظهور الحجة. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.